So different.
How y'all doing? I'm Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the greatest co-host in the world, Mike the Pig Crum. Mike, how are you?
It's a funny thing, man, because Paul, just moved into a new place, got a family going well. Brendan's young, healthy, doing great. On the other hand, I have diabetes, neuropathy. I have a new intestine thing that's killing me. Like, I just have all the reason in the world to be down. But I have a feeling for this podcast, as a Lakers fan to two Mavericks fans, I might be the happy one here today.
I think that's safe to say. We'll definitely be getting to that more. But before we do, Mike, where can we find you on Twitter, sir?
CD Piglet, guys. Nice and easy.
Of course, no show is complete without the conductor of the Jake Ferguson hype train, Mr. Brenden Fergy Smith. Brenden, how are you, sir?
I'm here. I'm here.
You guys are so...
I hear that, brother. Brenden, where can we find you on Twitter?
You can find me at Brenden_Smith26.
There's just no feeling. I'm sorry. Feeling it there's just so much hurt going on above there.
Yeah. I am Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. Well, the sports world, better yet, the basketball world was shook when an unexpected trade rose to the surface in the wee hours of Saturday night. It was announced around midnight that the Los Angeles Lakers and Dallas Mavericks agreed to a deal that would send power forward Anthony Davis to Dallas in return for young superstar and face of the Mavericks franchise, Luka Doncic. This still doesn't feel real. It has not gone over well for most people who aren't Lakers fans. NBA players, executives, and everyone in between were stunned by the move and is still trying to make sense of it. For those of you who listen to the show, you know that Brenden and I are the resident Mavericks fans, and Mike is a Lakers fan, and his favorite player just so happens to be Luka Doncic. So we thought it was only right that we share our thoughts on the move. So, Mike, what was your initial reaction when you saw the news?
Okay, so I was coming back from the hotel after watching Jey Uso in the Royal Rumble, yeet, and I get I'm waiting to go on the Space Mountain. You know, I have my chair, so I'm waiting to go in through the wheelchair way to Space Mountain, and I find out about it when I'm next in line, and I call Muhammad, and I'm like talking to him about it. As I'm getting on the ride, I'm like, hey, man, I got to go. I'm going to go on this ride. I won't be able to hear you. I'll call you back. So I get on the ride, Space Mountain. I get off the ride, call him right back. I'm walking around the park talking to this guy in Disneyland with him on speaker, left my cart, I couldn't even remember where my cart was because I walked all the way across to the other part of the park talking to him. I got to pass through another ride, and then I was like, hey, this pass is coming up. I got to go on the ride. When I got off the ride, I was like, I can't find my car. I don't know where my card is. And like, it was like a cloud of fog was walking around, and I'm trying to figure out what to do at Disneyland, which is my spot, but I don't want to do anything because I'm like waiting for somebody to go, haha, this isn't real. Come on, wake up. Gotcha. You know? And so I walked around Disneyland in a fog and had to take it took me about 15 minutes to remember where the hell I had parked my cart before I went to go on Space Mountain. That was my reaction, was just a fog of what is happening right now. Is this real?
Yeah, Brenden, what about you, man?
There's not many words I can describe the way I legit the funniest thing is this is the one time like in forever I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna go to bed at a reasonable time. I'm like, you know what, nothing crazy. So I put my phone on my charger next to my pillow, so I'm just moving stuff around. I'm about to get into bed. I see ESPN notification. I'm like, there's some game on. Why are you showing me this? I look at breaking news. I'm like, okay. It said Luka for 80. I'm like, that's bullshit. I'm like, no, that's not. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I'm like, okay, that's a lie. Okay, cool, that's great. And so I just kept reading on. And then Shams doubled down. I'm like, oh. And I legit I didn't have words. I called best friend Cooper, and I was like, dude, I think Luka just got traded. He's like, you're full of it. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And that was kind of like my reaction. I was going to go to bed like at 11:30. I went to bed at 3 because I just couldn't fall asleep that night.
Yeah, kind of similar. I was laying in bed just watching YouTube. Wife and son were asleep, and I'm like just kind of scrolling, trying to find another video, and I saw a thumbnail where it was like had a picture of Luka and AD, and it was like traded, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like, who in the world would do that? Then I saw KT Fun Tweets thumbnail, like his his thumbnail for his channel. He was going live, and he said Luka traded. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? Like, he's not going to post something crazy, like some kind of like clickbait type stuff. So then I'm like starting to like kind of almost freak out. So then I hop on Twitter. I'm like, there's no way this is real. Hop on Twitter, see that it's trending, and I'm like, there's no possible way. Of course, I immediately go to Shams, and he's reporting, and I'm just like, almost like starting to hyperventilate. First, I'm angry, then I'm just shocked. I remember I was sitting there laying there just trying to fully understand what just happened, what's going on, and all of a sudden my wife wake up and she's like, "Hey, what's going on?" I'm like, the Mavericks traded Luka, and I'm not gonna lie, man, I'm almost in tears. And I tell her, I'm like, the Mavericks just traded Luka Doncic, and she's like, no. When she immediately woke up and stayed awake for like an hour. She's not a big time like sports fan, but even she was absolutely shocked by what just happened. So if that says anything at all to what kind of move this is, but yeah, like, I thought it was fake. I was stunned. I almost cried. I was angry. I don't know if we'll ever see anything like this. I don't know if I've ever felt like this, like a sports moment has ever made me feel that way, just kind of taken by storm. Not to compare it, but I just remember when, I don't remember what I was doing, but when I found out that Kobe had passed away, and I was just like, what the hell? Like, what are you talking about? And then seeing that news, again, I'm not trying to compare, but just kind of that feeling like, is this real? Like, did this actually happen? Mike, I don't know if you can, understand what I'm talking about, but
the same, yeah, I got on the same thing happened. I called Muhammad, like, is this for, like, it took me the same thing. It took an hour before I was like, I don't believe it. And it took me an hour before, like, I had to be convinced, like, Kobe really died. It was the same thing with Luka. Like, I had to be, I was like in a fog of both of it. It put you in a fog of like, is this reality? What do you don't want to, like, I'm literally at Disneyland going, I could get on whatever ride I want. And I'm like, well, I don't want to go on a ride because while I'm on the ride, if something happens, I want to be able to, like, figure out, like, okay, what's up? And you just want to talk to somebody about it. Like, what is going on? What is up? It was, it was a different, like, devastation compared to elation, but the same type of unbelievable fog from opposite sides of, like, what the hell is happening right now?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Is this the worst trade in any sport that you've ever seen, Brenden?
By far, like, you can say, like, oh, what team wins championships or whatever. You trade, like, I know I got Brendan's bashing later, so like that's why I'm not like trying to go like full in because I already have a rant built up, and so like I'm just like waiting to like absolutely pop off with that. But you trade a 25-year-old who averaged a 34-point, basically triple-double last year, who should have won MVP and it was snubbed for it, took you to the NBA Finals, and you're like, you know what, we want to win now move, and you trade him away. But for the Mavs side, yeah, you got an aging player who can't stay healthy, which your biggest fault with Luka besides money was, oh, he's overweight, he can't be this and all that. Like, okay, cool. Why did you trade for a guy with no legs? That's neat. And then the simple fact that you see later on that the Lakers were willing to give up 3 first-round picks, Dalton Connect, with AD, and you're like, and they were able to dwindle you down. How the hell? This is what happens when you look desperate because you're the one trying to trade the superstar instead of going the other way around. This isn't the Luka trade. It's not, because AD was the person who was traded for. Luka was just somehow a part of it.
That I can tell you that when that first trade came out, Rob Pelinka told him we need to be able to talk to the agent because they don't want to give up their last year's first-round pick, 2 more first-round picks, and AD if they can't talk to him and secure that he'll re-sign with the Lakers. So Rob Pelinka was like, if I can't even talk to the agent because you're afraid it's going to get out, then I can't give up all that stuff because Luka could leave after next season. And then I gave up, my first-round pick that was a steal at 17 has been one of the better players in the draft. and the next 2 picks. Now, in real life, when you have a chance to get a 25-year-old superstar, you kind of give up what you got to give up to get them, and then you work from there. The way Toronto did with Kawhi. Even if they ended up not winning the championship, it would have been worth it to get him in the building and go, hey, we're gonna have him here and try to convince him to stay. But Rob Pelinka kind of used that to his advantage. Well, if you're not going to let me talk to the agent and re-sign, then we got to rework a deal, because you're talking about I'm giving up AD, who's he was an all NBA player last year, just like Luka was, and then I'm giving up a first-round pick and one of my young building blocks. Max Christie's a good player, 3-and-D guy, hits 3, plays defense, young player. You need that as a role player. So he's using that against a younger GM and going, yeah, I know Luka's 25 and a superstar top 3 player, but you guys don't want him because of his health and his this and that. And he was able to maneuver that into a deal, which was slick from him. But that I'm just reporting what the reason why. What had came out from the Lakers side is the Lakers told him, if we're going to give up Connect and 2 first and AD, then we've got to be able to talk to the agent and know that, hey, Luka will stay here. Luka's not going to leave after next year. And the Mavs guy was like, we can't let it get out, that we can't get to Luka, that we're considering trading him, because that'll, if it doesn't go through, then we're screwed here, because we try to trade him. He's not going to want to re-sign with us, or it's going to lower his trade value, yada, 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 whatever. And so that basically is why that deal went from here's what it is here down to what it ended up being.
Yeah. So is this the worst trade you've ever seen, Mike?
In hindsight, if you could look at the results, Babe Ruth and Herschel Walker trades were pretty bad. And we don't know, if the Mavs go on in the next 2 years and win a title and AD's like finals MVP, then you might be like, well, we gave up, a guy for 10 years, but we did get our championship, out of it. And then it wouldn't be the worst trade. It still wouldn't be great because you didn't get the value. But if you're looking without hindsight, just the first time you've seen a trade and you're like, damn, a 25-year-old, 5-time All-NBA player, like superstar, was they got that for him? Like, it's definitely up there. It's in tier 1 of bad trades of all time at this point in time. It has to be.
Yeah, this is easily the worst trade I've ever seen. No doubt about it. Brenden, has this ruined basketball for you?
Yeah. So I'm going to be honest. So my sports hierarchy is, of course, football. No matter what, I hate that it's this high, but it will never go down at all. And I love baseball. Watching the Rangers is a lot of fun. Just also getting into baseball is a lot of fun. And then basketball, it's been hard to watch the Mavs games, so that's also it hurts me watching. And then also 82 games is a shitload. So he's like, oh my gosh, first 20 games, this guy's the MVP. No one cares. Like, nobody cares. Talk to me after the All-Star break. But so basketball's 3, but you just show that you're an incompetent franchise. I don't care if the Mavs somehow went on a run and won this year. You shown that you're disloyal, and that you probably burned every bridge with every superstar that you could get. Because if you trade Luka, no one's untouchable with the Mavs.
Yeah, so, Mike, has this made you love basketball a little bit more?
No, I don't. Well, I mean, it reminds me of when we got Dion in Dallas. My favorite player all of a sudden went to my team, and you're shocked about it. Damn, I get to root for my favorite player on my favorite team. I don't have to watch him on another team or whatever. But I'm always Lakers. I remember when LeBron came in and a bunch of fans came over as LeBron fans, and Jesse, our guy Jesse, who everybody knows, told me, he's like, I'm done with the Mavs. Tell me what I need to know about Lakers because I'm following Luka. Well, I'm a little less mad about that because the LeBron thing was set up. Luka was stolen from y'all. So I understand that I'm going with Luka, F these guys. Whereas LeBron was like, I'm going to sign over here. And then you get a bunch of people coming over. And I'm like, well, the team that you liked didn't like trade him or get like they wanted to keep him. LeBron chose to leave. It's a different situation, you know. But I'm the same. I watched Lakers when they were between the Kobe and the Magic years when it was Van Axel and Eddie Jones and we weren't winning. And, you know, like I'm always Lakers. They're always going to be my second favorite sport to watch. And you know, I always root for my Lakers regardless. So it's nice to have the favorite player, but either way, Lakers all the way. So.
Yeah, this hasn't ruined basketball for me, man, but it has made me care so much less about it than initially. Because, you know, the hierarchy for me would be Cowboys, Mavericks, Rangers. Now it's Cowboys, Rangers, and then, you know, I guess I'll watch the Mavericks, but like hate watch the Mavericks. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit more. You know, Brenden, are you still a Mavs fan?
I am, but like I said, I don't care about basketball really right now. I want, like I said this, I kind of want to see this blow up in Nico's face. He's just like, oh, in 10 years I'll be buried. Yeah, you will. You're going to be looked at as a fucking laughing stock. I'm sorry for saying the F word, but like I can't. Like I'll get on to later with Nico, but
I don't understand.
I thought Jerry Jones was bad. I really thought. But Jerry Jones likes to have like at least one cornerstone guy he says is his. Mainly, if he drafts them, he'll say he's there, but you just get rid of him like that. Yeah.
I remember telling Mike that I wasn't going to be a Mavs fan anymore when we were talking about the trade when it happened. And, you know, I still kind of feel like, you know, that I'm not a Mavs fan now, but I also find myself kind of wanting to hate watch just to see what happens, to see how this goes. But I don't understand how you can just trade a generational player like that, dude. Like, it doesn't make any sense. That type of player comes once in a lifetime, and you're lucky. I mean, to think about going from Dirk Nowitzki and then going to Luka Doncic, like that never happens. No sports franchise can never happen.
He wanted to be Dirk. He wanted to be Dirk. Like, he had no interest in leaving the Mavericks. Like, he wanted to be the next Dirk Nowitzki.
And Dirk was already like, this guy is much better than I ever was, you know? So to think that we had another Dirk, but then the guy who was like on Dirk's level and beyond and wanted to be here, and then you just trade him away for nothing the way that you did. I mean, of course I hate Nico, but it's hard for me to say that I hate the Mavs just because of everything that I've kind of been through them with them, and then thinking about everything I've been through with the Cowboys and I still watch them. It's like, how could I not be a Mavs fan anymore? But yeah, I have no real desire to watch them outside of just seeing what they look like after the aftermath, you know?
This is the least I've wanted to talk on the podcast. Like, I love hanging out with y'all, but my brain goes, you're gonna say a lot of things, and a lot of things get to you where you can't speak on the internet anymore. So I'm like, just like holding my tongue.
Therapy sessions, a therapy session for the Mavs fans.
This is kind of what I mean, I thought it'd be good to talk about it. It would, you know, kind of help to talk about it with you guys. But, you know, Mike, how optimistic are you as a Lakers fan about this move?
Well, yeah, I mean, the idea is to get a Luka player. That's the idea. You know, Magic, Kareem, Shaq, Kobe, and now you have the next. You had LeBron, AD, which got you one title, and now the next, you know, thing is Luka and what you build around. Like it's. We'll know in about 2 seasons what it's going to be, because typically a basketball player's prime is going to be 25 to 29. So this next 4 years, what can you build around Luka to, you know, you need one more, you need the next guy. What guy are you going to go get? You know, because you save 100, you ain't got to pay him the super duper max the Mavs could have. So you're going to have extra money. So who can you go entice and go, hey, it's the Lakers. Look, we've gotten this guy. Now we got Luka. Like, we're the Lakers. We're going to be the team. come over here and let's win a title. Because after LeBron, a lot of teams, like, they tried to get Kawhi Leonard. He said, I'm Clippers. They tried to get Paul George, Clippers. DeMar DeRozan, like, they were trying to make moves and ended up with, like, Westbrook, they it's been down a little bit. Like, LeBron's old, this and that. Well, now you got 25-year-old Luka. You got the next chip. There's optimism in the next 10 years now. Instead of it being like, I'm watching because it's Lakers, but they're in a rebuild. Now they got to retool around their next guy.
And it's crazy to think that not only is Luka, he's gone obviously, but they're even talking about trading Derek Lively. Like the two most exciting players on the Mavs are potentially about to be on their way out. Have you heard about that, Brenden?
What do you guys want?
What'd you hear? Talking about Lively.
I heard this earlier today on Mavericks Digest on YouTube.
I wonder what they're going to get. Because I would think the reason AD would be, waive his no trade and his trade exemption is because he's like, well, I could finally play the power forward.
You would still have Gafford if Lively was traded.
That's true. But Lively's good, man. I don't know you better get something for a good. That's a good young center, man.
No, his health concerns, man. We can't trust anything. We'll get a first-round pick.
Yeah, that's a conversation that could take a long time to talk about. But from what I understand, it was maybe potentially him going to the Heat and like a Jimmy Butler type of deal. But
I would hate my life
I want no part of Jimmy Butler. Dude. Like, he does not excite me at all.
I love Jimmy, but he's older. Yeah, he's older, and Jimmy. You don't want Jimmy in that locker room. Yeah, I wouldn't. Jimmy would break Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis ain't got the mentality to deal with Jimmy Butler.
He would not be a fit in the Mavericks locker room with Kyrie and what you said about Anthony Davis. Is there anything that can justify this trade for you, Brenden?
No, not really. Honestly, no. Because I was talking about. I'm like, they can win it all this year because we'll talk about it later, like their future and stuff. But like, I don't care. Like, I don't want anything nice for Nico.
Yeah.
Like, Nico had all this goodwill. Like, everyone's like, dude, he's quietly the best GM we've seen in a while. Look at this. He trades for PJ. He trades for Gafford. Like, moves Dallas needed to make to go deep in the playoffs. Like, they needed PJ and Gafford badly. And it worked out. They completely revamped the bench. And everything's going well. They get Clay. I even talk about getting Kyrie 2 years ago. Then you do this. What's the point of, like, the win now move is to get rid of your MVP caliber player at age 25.
Yeah, your superstar generational talent. Nothing could or will justify this trade unless we find out Luka is a Justin Tucker, Deshaun Watson type of person off the court. But, as far as compensation goes, I can't think of a single player I'd rather have than Luka. No amount of picks could justify this trade, and I don't know who I could add to AD to justify this deal. If we got AD, De'Aaron Fox, and like 3 first-round picks, that would be a start. Even then, though, I'd still rather have Luka Doncic.
Mikal Bridges went for 5. Rudy Gobert went for 4.
Yeah, don't remind me, dude. I've been hearing that all day. Like, I don't understand the logic of this. I mean, AD, for what it's worth, no hate to AD because he was all NBA on offense and defense. Like, players don't do that. That's not a common thing. So, I don't want to take anything away from him. He is having a career year, and he's been really good these last 2 years as he's gotten older, finally looking like he might stay healthy. But I just, when you compare like to what you should have gotten and could have gotten to what you did get, it's just sickening.
Correct.
How many, if any, championships would it take for you to forgive Nico for this move, Brenden?
I need the Mavs to go on their own 3-peat. Like, we're talking about like the Chiefs and stuff. Maybe we're going on a 3-peat this weekend. Like, I would need 3 straight for me to even consider. But then I also got to think of, even if the Mavs are winning, what are the Lakers doing? Like, how is Luka looking with the Lakers? Because we know firsthand that he can single-handedly keep you afloat, even if your roster isn't that great.
I mean, the roster that he took to the Western Conference Finals, dude.
Oh yeah, against Golden State.
Yeah, I had no business being in that.
Yeah, Mike, you're fine. We took Dwight Powell to the effing Western Conference Finals at center. So
Dorian
you're good. Okay, don't mess with Dodo. Like I know
I'm
y'all
just
have.
saying.
Like,
what is he doing with the Nets? I love Dodo. That's my dude. But Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell, like that mishmash of a roster that he took, like, come on.
Dodo's been good for Lakers so far. A handful of games, but he's been kicking butt.
What up, Carlos? We're not talking Cowboys right now. You know, I imagine you heard the news about Luka Doncic, so we're talking about the Luka Doncic and the aftermath there. So I hope you'll stick around as we will talk about the Cowboys and their recent moves. But as we're currently talking about our frustrations with the recent Luka Doncic trade. I don't know how many championships. What I've got written here is I don't think I'll ever forgive Nico or the Mavericks front office for this. I don't even think 3 titles would do it. To be totally honest. Now, we win a title. My tune could change a little bit, but winning without Luka as opposed to having the chance to win with Luka is so much different for me. And that probably doesn't make any sense but I think I just kind of got to a point where maybe I liked Luka more than I liked the Mavericks.
Some people are like that about Dak to push it to Cowboys. Some people are like, we just love who this dude is. You know, and the way he has to deal with the Joneses front office and still go out there and takes everyone hit and is blamed by half the fan base for 30 years of failure. A lot of people are love Dak like that. So, it makes sense.
Well, it's not just about the player. It's about the character himself. Like, I know you brought the Dak, which good job, Mike, but I got to bring it back to Luka. Just like, it's who he is. Like, he's been a great person in this community for DFW. For all he's done, is he completely socially awkward? Heck yes, he is. He's one of the most weird dudes to see on an interview, and it's hilarious. But like he cares. He does everything he can. Every time the Mavs are doing something, Luka is there for the community, and it's just like so. It's not just that you traded away your franchise's player; you traded away a person who meant a lot to this community.
Yeah.
He made Mavericks basketball fun. Dirk was amazing, but Luka just does something different for the game, like what his style of play and what he does on the court. He just makes it fun to watch. And he's that's taken away now.
I'm a Lakers fan, and he was my favorite player.
Yeah,
with no connection. I'm not talking about now that he's a Laker. I'm talking about since he's been in the league. He's been my favorite. I watched Mavs were my second favorite team. I rooted for Mavs. Other than when they played the Lakers, I rooted for him every other game because I loved Luka Doncic.
Crazy, man, crazy. Mike, in NFL terms, what trade would be equivalent to Luka AD for you?
This is one of the questions when I skimmed over the show sheet in my little bit of time that I did some that I think I got a good one here. Okay, so Luka would be like say Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, type of young superstar player that hadn't won yet, but you could tell like he's one of those dudes. And they traded him for how about this? Matt Stafford. So AD for the Pelicans didn't ever win anything. He was good statistically, but never had playoff success, just like Stafford. Went to another team, and LeBron was like the McVay there, and won a title with them. And now he's older. He has injuries and stuff like that. So I think that's the comparison. A Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson type. Really, really great. Hasn't won, but you could tell that one of those dudes that you would not be shocked if they won a title or two over the next 5, 6, 7 years. And then Matt Stafford, an older, dominating player that didn't have a lot of success, that got traded and then won a title and is now kind of aged and it can still be great. I mean, he just had a game where he had a double-double in one quarter, 21 and 11, and ended up with 42 points, 23 rebounds, and like 4 blocks or something. Like, he can do that, but he's older and his nickname's Street Clothes for a reason.
Yeah. Who would you rather see in Sean McVay's offense, though, Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson?
Allen, because he's a better passer.
I got you. Brenden, what about you? What is in NFL terms, Luka AD? What is that?
This is super tough. Like, so my 1-to-1, first off, Mike had a great one. Like, I really do. I really love that one.
That's pretty good, right?
I love that. But I don't think, because since, football is 11-on-11, basketball is 5-on-5, so it is a completely different thing. But I was just thinking of, like, just superstar for just an old person. I was thinking Micah for Von Miller.
Oh my God.
Okay. Mike hasn't won.
That would be sickening, dude.
It's a good one. I don't think Von Miller's as good anymore as AD is still now, but that's pretty good.
So for me, I said this is reminiscent to when the Texans and Cardinals made the deal back in 2019 when Houston traded DeAndre Hopkins for David Johnson. If you know, you know. But for a more relevant example, I'd say this is like the Chiefs sending the Steelers Patrick Mahomes and the Steelers sending them Russell Wilson in a third-round pick. That's kind of what I felt like that was a pretty close comp.
AD is a better player than Vaughn and Russell Wilson. He is. I got to give him that credit. Like he's an all NBA caliber player. But you're right in the idea of, like, you're giving up a dude for the next 10 years that there is there for a older guy that might be to that level for 2 years, but is not that dude anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You probably have the best example of the three of us for sure, Mike. No doubt about
I
that.
went into I really thought about that one. I really was like, that's one of the ones that I'm like, okay, well, what would this be? What would that be? But I think Matt Stafford is like the perfect example of Anthony Davis. Like Detroit, You knew he was great. You knew he was a badass, but he never had any playoff success. Then he got traded, and he got McVay, a.k.a. LeBron. They won a championship. And now it's like you see the glimpses, like, damn, this guy's still one of the 10 best players in the league. But he's, last season he missed all year with the injury, Matt Stafford. There's always going to be that worry that he's going to go out, and he's not consistently going to put up 30 points in all pro numbers. But every once in a while, he'll hit you with damn, that guy's still one of the best in the league, that type of thing.
When I was doing the sheet, I don't remember if it was while I was doing the sheet or at some point today, I just remember thinking that, like, there were those times when I would put, like, what would it take for you to trade Dak Prescott? What would it take for you to trade Michael Parsons? You're like, I'm not even going to discuss that, dude. Like, that's not, like, why are we discussing that? That's never going to happen. Nico Harris made that happen. He did the unthinkable and actually did it. You know what I mean? It's
now viable. When you say that and I go, it's not something that would ever happen, Paul, you could just go, Luka Doncic. I go, God damn it, I'll have to answer it.
Yeah, dude, just totally insane, man. Before we get too off track, with their recent, does this move make Nico Harrison the worst GM in Dallas, Mike?
No. Jesus.
Oh,
look
wow.
Look at all the things Brenden just said. Brenden was like, well, he just brought in, what was it, Kyrie. He brought in PJ Washington and everything, got him to a finals, went and got Klay Thompson. Now, this was an idiotic, stupid move. Jerry hasn't won in 30 years, has no idea how to use the salary cap. Traded Amari Cooper for pickle. He traded Amari Cooper, and 2 years later, somebody traded him for more than he got. Like, it was a horrible move. But at least, like, this dude's done something good recently. Like, finals, Western Conference finals, like, Jerry, 30 years. Basically, the minute the salary cap came in place, we had an incompetent GM, and he was the fucking owner, so we had to deal with him for 30 years. At least if this guy, if AD breaks down and everything goes wrong, he's gone in 3 years. Tops, if everything doesn't work out. He's an idiot.
Yeah.
We've got dummy till he's dead. So, no. I mean, I know you guys as Mav fans are going to have different takes, but this has come – forget that trade. I don't care about that trade. 30 years we're stuck with the worst GM because he owns the fucking team. And he's god-awful. And he has no idea what he's doing. We can't even get excited about Myles Garrett because we know he sucks so bad that the only way he'd trade is if he gave him Micah Parsons for him because, as Brenden and us talked about before, he might want to steal the headlines. That's how bad our GM is, that we're not even in consideration for maybe the best defensive player in football. We're not even, oh no, because we wouldn't pay him. That's how bad Jerry Jones is. I want to make sure people remember that this guy's a moron and he made a terrible trade, but at least he can be fired. We got to wait for ours to die, which I don't wish that on him. Even as a Cowboys fan, and it may help the team. I can't imagine Steven Jones doesn't do some things different, but I don't wish death on him. Live till you're fucking 100. But he's the worst. But now, as the Cowboy non-Mavericks fan backs away, I allow you guys to say that he is the worst because he's your team's guy and he just got rid of your best player, and it's fair for you to do so. So even though I got upset and I hate Jerry Jones, beat up this guy because he deserves it, and I am not going to say anything because he deserves to be shit on too.
You know what I just thought of is the way that Nico went about this and how furious other GMs are. Who's going to want to make a trade with him now, dude? And what players are going to want to come to sign to Dallas now?
He did that to us. That's fair. Take that approach to it. At least people will still deal with Jerry, and he's been good to his players. Now, he may talk shit to him in contracts, oh, Dak, But in the end, he pays him. He wants to be in the headline stuff. So, from that point of view, doing that to your superstar player, that's a fair argument. And now I step back, and I will not say anything. You guys kill your guy because he deserves to get killed.
All right, Brenden, does this move make Nico Harrison worst GM in Dallas? I feel like you've got a lot to say during Brendan's bashing, so I don't know how much you want to answer this one.
Honestly, I was about to ask, could we technically just move that segment to right now? Because we all know, you said Mavericks edition, so we know who's gonna get bashed. It's like seeing Terrence Steele get burned for 4 sacks. You know who I'm gonna go after on Monday. It's obvious.
Do it. Do Brendan's bashing now. Let him do it now.
Crack those knuckles first.
It's gonna. So first off, Mike does make a phenomenal point. And we're talking, of course, tenure is completely different because, Jerry's been here for effing ever and the Nico has not. But Nico just did. So Jerry's still the worst. We're talking in the moment. I was starting to feel optimistic about just, DFW sports. I'm like, hey, the Joneses are letting Shoddy make a really good coaching staff. We'll get into that in a little bit, but he's making a really good coaching staff. I'm like, what is this? Optimism? This is great. I couldn't feel bad. What is anything bad? And then this happens. And Nico Harrison being the little, nope. I almost said words that, don't need to be said. Stop myself. I'm proud of myself for that one. But being the absolute wuss, there we go. The absolute wuss that he is. He wanted to keep everything under wraps because he was scared of the fan backlash and what Luka was going to do to try to influence things. How much of a wuss do you have to be for that? Seriously, oh my God. You could have got so much more, but you were I want AD, but also my best buddy, Rob Pelinka, is there with the Lakers. I'll probably get a great deal. We're going to be buddy, and then I'll get the player I want because guess what? I knew him before I was with the Mavs. Everything Luka liked on this team. Of course, he loves his teammates. I'm not going to try to get Luka never liked Kyrie because we saw the playoff run. They loved each other and all that. But all of Luka's friends and all that, Nico got rid of. All the assistant coaches that Luka really started to love and all that because he was the people that were brought in whenever Luka was drafted. They're gone. Yeah. Nico wants this to be his team so effing terribly, but so he defended the Grant Williams trade, even though that blew up months after he was traded. But he defended it. He's been bashing Luka. Oh man, he's super overweight. Oh man, he's never going to be able to really play. He's playing Monday. He's going to play before the All-Star break. He knew he had to get this trade done now because guess what? If Luka came back and dropped 32 points, 8 and 8, and then you're oh hey, we're still going to trade you, the fan base would have murdered you even more because we have him healthy. We have what we wanted. Kyrie did his job. Kyrie kept us afloat so we could get back with Luka, and then we have our entire healthy roster, and we go into playoffs. That's what happened. You got unlucky with the injury bug, with Luka getting hurt, with Derek Lively getting hurt. Dante Exum's just now playing basketball again. Like, you were lucky that their players are finally coming back just to trade away your future. Good job. You got better for 2 years because having your front court being that dominant will be great. Where are you going to be in 10? Like, I've never seen a guy want to be the smartest man in the room harder than Jerry Jones, but then it just happened. Like, Jerry ain't doing this. Because guess what? He will make, because he knows he'll make so much money with Luka that this trade would never even be thought about happening. He was scared that other teams were going to start, because he knew other teams were getting ready to try to make a run at Luka if Luka declined his contract, which, duh. If Giannis goes out and say, hey, I'm not signing you this summer, 29 other teams are calling saying, hey, so like, what money are you thinking about getting? Like, we'll talk about this in the summer, but what are you thinking about? Every team will go after that. You know what happens? That's what happens when you have a top 3 player in the league. It's just what happens. But no, you won't think, oh, I'm scared of paying him. Oh, I'm scared of his health and all that. He's going to help us win now, which he just went to the NBA Finals. Like I said, he's the MVP runner-up. He should have been the MVP. He's the reason why every time you saw him before the game, he was covered in ice bags. But wait, I thought he was fat. Like, he shouldn't really be hurting. He just shouldn't be able to move because, he's out of breath. He's out of shape. He put everything on the line. He's the one who beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like, of course, it's a team game. But the times that you go, oh, the Mavs won early, it's because Luka dropped 20 in the first quarter. That's what you do. Every teammate loved him. And guess what? Does he complain a little too much? Yes, he does. I will full on admit it. But when you're a top 3 player in the league and you can drop 70 if you really get pissed off, you do whatever you want, man. I can't complain. You go do you. He bought an effing house last week.
$15 million.
Oh.
Like, the thing that hurt me the worst was his goodbye to Dallas, saying he thought he was going to be here forever. Like, it's him full on saying, it's not like, oh, well, I wish this could have been like, oh, we might have been here together. He's like, no, I wanted to be here forever. I thought I was going to join the Mavs and retire a Mav. Dude, you've ruined your fan base. There's funerals going on at AT&T. Not AT&T, American Airlines Center. What have you done? You went from, like, dude, hey, we might actually have a general manager to you shouldn't be anywhere near sports. The new ownership doesn't know jack squat. You didn't tell your coach, which was very obvious in the press conference. Jason Kidd looked lost. He looked dumbfounded. And he's saying, we're aligned on this. And Jason Kidd just looks dead. Like, you murdered your coach. Like, Nico's answered 3 questions and then left Jason Kidd to the Wolves. And Jason Kidd had no answer.
Jason Kidd signs off on that deal, dude.
No one signs off on this.
Watch it back. Watch that part back and watch Jason Kidd's eyes and then play the song, Hello, Darkness, My Old Friend. It seriously fits. I swear. He looks dead.
Other ownerships are getting angry because they're like, because no other team, I think there was reports it could have been the Spurs for Wemby or the Bucks with Giannis. Like, those could have been like the only 2 other teams Nico even tried, but no one else had any way to bid for Luka. Like, like I said, this was the AD trade. AD is a phenomenal player. Like, I could not talk about like how good he is. You went from, hey, well, we can win in the next 3 years. Like, you just ruined your future. You have Derek Lively, who will be your future, unless what you said earlier, he might get traded. So who knows if that happens. If that happens, everything needs to burn. But, like, you have no future.
And there's a chance Kyrie might not even re-sign with us next year, dude, this summer. After this.
I wouldn't be surprised if he joined LeBron and AD next year.
Yeah,
I'm not saying
exactly.
I've never been a Kyrie.
I've seen. I forgot who I read from. They're doing reports from Tim McMahon saying that they're still on course to get a signing in July, get an extension done. But you went from getting the best Robin in the league and Kyrie Irving saying like, hey, we're doing all this to build for Luka. We're gonna, we couldn't shoot threes with Luka in space. Man, you know what? Go get the best 3-point shooter of all time. And you did that. I know he's older, so he's nowhere near that now. But, like, you got Clay. PJ, you got that for Luka. All these players joined to play with Luka. They're like, you know what? We need to fix it for the Kyrie's timeline. I'm sorry, but who gives a shit? I love Kyrie for what he's done for the Mavs, for what he's done as a player. Now, I love him. Like, he's done phenomenal things. He's your Robin. He's been the number 2 option, a phenomenal number 2. He's been your number 2, but now it's like, oh, actually, he's the face of the franchise. Why? Your cheapskates.
We're 40 minutes into across the Mavs podcast.
Yeah, sorry. That's why I didn't do a top 5 tonight, because I knew this was going to be a long discussion. This Mavs stuff. I felt we might go off a little bit, but yeah, I'm just to answer this question shortly. Yeah, that Nico Harrison easily is the worst GM after this move. I mean, I know everything he had done up to this was brilliant, but no, this move just takes all those things away. With their recent moves, are you more optimistic for the Cowboys' future, the Mavericks' future, Brenden?
I'm taking this more as the near future, so you have to say the Mavericks, because they do have a top 3 roster in the West. If everyone's healthy, I gotta preface that, of course, if everyone's healthy, but you have a top 3 roster in the West, you'll be competitive for the next 3 years. After that, God knows what your team is. Like, honestly, I have no idea what the Mavericks' future is. You don't have any first-round picks. And now you have this. So, for 3 years, dude, hey, they could go on a run. After that, I got nothing.
Mike, what about you?
Well, I have no optimism.
I mean, you have no ties to the Mavericks, obviously, but when you look at the just the future of both of these teams,
which one has Jerry Jones as GM until he's dead? I'm less optimistic in that option. That they don't like. I believe Nico Harris made a bad trade, but do I think he might go out and sign somebody in the offseason? Like, that is a difference maker? Yeah, of course. Will Jerry go out and sign somebody in the offseason that's a difference maker for Dallas? No. So, I mean, by default, I have to be more optimistic in the Mavs, because at least if their GM sucks, they could fire him. Our GM, we've been dealing with it 30 years. He would have been fired 20 times over already. So, I got more optimism in the Mavs, even with no connection, than I do to the Cowboys.
That's fair. After the recent hirings, how excited are you about this Dallas coaching staff, Mike?
All right, here we go, guys. If you're listening where you don't want to hear the Mavs stuff, at 47 minutes is where you although I did get a Cowboys rant in there too, so but on coaching, I'm really excited. Like, they have put together a really good coaching staff. But this is going to be a theme for me until I see them in free agency. It don't, because Eberflus is great. If we don't have no like, his whole defense is the front four has got to be great. If we're going out there with Micah, Nealon, Mozzie, and insert veteran or first round pick DT, I'm not going to be very excited, because he needs a great front four for his defense to work. And he's a damn good coordinator if he gets the players to run his defense. So we'll see. I'm optimistic that in the coaches, but I'm not optimistic in the front office to get them players that they could play the Niners, Detroit, Green Bay, Philly, a Commanders team that's going to have a lot of money. So we'll see after free agency how real optimistic I am about the coaching staff.
What about you, Brenden?
Like I said, when I saw what they were actually building, I do feel optimistic. But the bigger thing, it's not just them who they're hiring; they're being aggressive with it. Like, of course, like, Shoddy is someone none of us wanted. Like, I'll be honest here. Like, none of us wanted Schottenheimer as our head coach. Yep. So besides that, like, I said this on Twitter, and also I said this in the group chat, like, the worst coach hiring I've ever seen might be building the best coaching staff I've ever seen. Like, Cowboy-wise, I got, like, premise that, because, like, the old Redskins coaching staff was absolutely insane and all that. But, like, it goes from, oh, we have nothing but what the Joneses are doing is what they should do with every first-year head coach. You get them the best that they can, old and new. So you brought back London Wells, who's a phenomenal coach, and so he's going to bring back stability. But then you go get Clayton Adams, which most common people, of course, including myself, didn't really know about. So he's an unknown. So you're bringing in a younger person but you're also keeping stability there. So it's a bunch of young and old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this coaching staff better or worse than the previous regime for you, Brenden?
Well, it's very hard to say because, of course, you need to see what they do. We got all these coaches are great, but there's too many cooks in the kitchen. And then, but on paper, yes, they are better. But I've said that many times with the Dallas roster. I think that they're better on paper, and then you go, oh, no, they're not. So it's way too early to really call that.
What do you think, Mike? Do you have any thoughts on that, or anything to add to that?
I actually believe that is exactly correct. We don't know. I will say that I think Zimmer's better than Eberflus, but it's like Zimmer's like, this is what he does. Like, he has his own scheme that people stole from. But Eberflus is good. It's not a high drop-off like that. I'll also say Bones was the best special teams guy in the league. So whatever the new guy is, he ain't going to be Bones. So that's the top assistants are probably less. But I do like it's like we got a lot of how we liked Al Harris. It's like we got that at a bunch of different positions, which is really nice because they're the ones teaching the players. Mm-hmm. The main guys give them what they need, and then you got those under guys. And, of course, like Brenden said, Clayton Adams looks like he could be a star. So, I think on paper, that it's better all around.
Who on this coaching staff are you most excited, curious about, Mike?
It's Clayton Adams. I mean, this is another part that I did, so I'm going to get my notes here because I did a little bit of research on Arizona. We went over a little bit of it last week, but here's some more stuff. 2024 Arizona run game, 2nd in yards per play, 7th in EPA per rush, 2nd in rush yards before contact, which is enormous. 9th in success percentage, 4th in 10-plus runs, 1st in 20-plus runs. They were up against the 7th highest stacked box percentage while doing that. In pass blocking, because everybody talks about the run blocking, but they were if you know Kyler Murray's game, almost all the sacks he give up is because he holds onto the ball too long. Like, he is a sack merchant. And in pass blocking, they were 11th in pressure rate, 18th in sack rate. That's with Kyler Murray at QB. And then versus 4-man rushes, which is what Dallas has been getting a ton of in the last few years of Dak Prescott's era, they were 5th in pressure rate and 2nd in sack rate. That's with Arizona's offensive line, who aren't very good. So that dude knows what he's doing. So excitement level, maybe it doesn't work out. Maybe the Joneses suck and don't get in the players and it just doesn't work. But excitement level, I'm really excited for what he did in Arizona with what he had. Like, James Conner James Conner is not much better than – James Conner isn't better than Rico Dowdle last year. Rico Dowdle did more with less last year than James Conner did, and he was doing that. At worst, those are equal-level players. Like, neither one of them are breaking big plays all the time. They're more inside guys, efficient runners, and he was doing that with them, and he didn't have Tyler Smith. He didn't have, Cooper Beebe. He didn't have guys like that. So I'm excited for Clayton Adams.
Yeah, I figured that might be the common answer. What about you, Brenden?
It's Clayton Adams. Like, are you telling me we can actually get a coach who's creative and who will have a voice for once? You're telling me we actually might have that in the year 2025? It took me 22 years to see this. Are you kidding me?
That's what you got for sacrifice was Luka. Sorry, man.
If Dallas goes on a run, then I will take that any day of the week. Like, I'm like I said, football is still up here whether I want it to or not. Like, even in a depressed state, I will talk football with anyone.
Someone I'm really curious about on this coaching staff that is kind of, flown under the radar, at least, from what I've seen, is Aaron Whitetail, the defensive line coach that we got from the Jets. I'm really curious to see what he'll do with this defensive lineman. I know that we don't have a lot of pieces right now as it stands today, but seeing that he is like a good development guy, see what he could potentially do with Mozzie and Nealon and Sam Williams and Micah and stuff. I'm really curious to see what he'll be able to do with our guys.
Yeah.
Did y'all like that move?
That leads into the next question about the elevated groups of coaches.
Yeah.
All
right, so go after Michael. Which position group do you think will be elevated by this staff?
So O-line's an easy answer because what he did with Arizona, but I really believe if the Joneses do their job and bring back a Golston or a Tank, get Osa or a Osa, somebody in free agency to replace him that is not an older aging body, but a real guy like they traded for Buckner, DeForest Buckner or something, or Eric Armstead. And then they drafted a guy in the top 50. Aaron Whitecotton, look what he did with McDonald. Look what he's done partly with Quentin Williams. Yes, they're great players, but we've seen, first-round picks not make it, So Huff is another guy he was great with. So, yeah, he would be my answer for the position that's elevated the most could be the D-line with him.
What about you, Brenden?
Of course, we don't really know who's going to be in the running back room, but I do want to say the running backs in general. Our style of play under Mike McCarthy is inside zone, and that's what you get. You might get a puller, and we'll see. Maybe we'll do something a little crazy here with Kevontae Turpin. That's as much as you get. You'll see the crazy pulls with Clayton Adams. You're going to see Tyler Smith and Brock Hoffman out in space, ready to kill someone. As you see whoever running, this is the type of role I want to see Deuce Vaughn. Of course, I want a way better running back. Don't get me wrong, but if Deuce is gonna show you anything, it's going to be now with Clayton Adams running this offense.
Somebody that calls a counterplay. Finally,
you tell me we're running to the outside? I didn't know that was a thing.
On a counter, faking one way and going the other? No way.
You're telling me our offense isn't going to be completely predictable?
Yeah, give me 1 second, guys. We've got a new viewer here. Video Gooner 58's joining us now. Appreciate you stopping by, man. And also Carlos Edwards is back as well. Love to see the guys stopping by and supporting the channel. Is there a position group you're worried about because of this coaching staff, or maybe just because a lack of talent as of right now, Mike?
Special teams. Bones was the best. So, no matter what you get, I'm not saying Sorensen's bad or anything like that. Even if he's great, he's not going to be Bones. This is special teams is Bones. He's number one. He's the dude. So, yeah, no matter how good this guy is, he's not going to be Bones. So, that there will be some sort of drop off in that area.
Yeah, what about you, Brenden? What group are you worried about?
It's not that. Who's the former wide receivers not head coach, but wide receivers coach? I know his name, and I'm really pissed on his brain farting right now. You
remember who it is?
He just went to Miami. He just went to Miami, and this is really frustrating me. But so I didn't think he's ever that good. His name will pop up probably after the show, and I'm gonna get upset. But I didn't really ever trust him because he's shown no development on anyone. Oh, look at CD Lamb. Yeah, CD Lamb was a dude coming out of the draft. Just shut up.
Get no credit for CD Lamb.
No. It's like saying Dan Quinn is the reason why Micah is so good. No. Yeah. Micah is that dude. I'm not saying Dan Quinn didn't help, but Micah's that dude. It's something Prince or whatever, I think.
Yeah, I'm blanking on what it is.
Yeah, I know my brain's trying to think about that while I'm talking. But so we've shown no way to develop anyone. But if we draft a wide receiver in the first two rounds, in either the first or second round, you need to develop them. Because maybe this is when you get something out of Mingo. Because guess what? You finally have a coach who can get to him and say, "Hey, I know your strengths now. Let's work with it and start building you up." And so it's just the wide receivers look like we're going through the motions half the time. I guess you can say Kevontae Turpin got better, but I think it's just because that's God-given talent. Because he's so shifty. No one watches the Pro Bowl, but he did get a few sacks though when he was just legit sprinting towards Joe Burrow and all of them.
Cavante
So,
Turpin was used better. That's the difference. It's not like he became this all-world receiver. They just used him better and more often, so he was able to make more plays.
yeah, no, I agree. So it's just I need to see development in that room because you just paid CD, but Dallas doesn't like giving more contracts. So who knows how much longer CD Lamb will actually be here, and all that. You gotta develop. You like your later round guys, like you like Flournoy and all that. You gotta develop.
Agreed.
Like, cool, you have a one receiver one, you have a bunch of fours. Good job.
Yeah. Is in terms of philosophy and schematically, does Genty make the most sense for this team, Mike?
Mason Graham, Eberflus needs, like, people don't understand. If Eberflus can't stop the run with his front four, or they're not able to open up linebackers and get pass rush, that's his whole thing. The front seven is pretty basic. It's the back end that he'll like mess with people with. But he's not doing double gap blitz scheme or any of that. Like, your front four stops the run and opens things up for your linebackers to make plays, and they pass rush so that your back seven can cover and they don't have to cover for a long time. So Mason Graham, they're both, Genty and Graham are both about top 5 players. If one of them fell, the guy that would fit the best would be Mason Graham, because and another thing is, I think Genty on any on any scheme, anything, when you get a guy like that, is like, hey, just stick him in and he could get a 70-yard run on one play. Like, that's going to help anybody. But specifically, the way Eberflus's defense works is you've got to upgrade those defensive tackles, that D-line, through the defensive tackles, really. But the whole D-line has to play really damn well.
Because of how many needs they have, the new coaching staff, and their approaching free agency, should Dallas take a best player available Detroit Lions-like approach to this draft, Brenden?
I gotta see who falls. Like it all depends. Like, would you necessarily want a wide receiver in round 1? Not completely, but if Tet falls, you take him 10 times out of 10 times. You don't think about it. You run to the podium and you go, okay, cool. So what do y'all want to do for us tonight? Like, you don't think about it. Like, Mason Graham would be great, but it all depends on who falls. If there could be an offensive lineman who's the best player on the field, I don't want an offensive lineman. You have some more needs. But if you can assign someone in free agency, then yeah, we'll talk. Let's go take whoever we want. Let's go have fun. We can have a whole sheet of this who we could take in the first round, and we could trade back or whatever. We could have a lot of fun. Just to see what like. Free agency is going to be so key.
Yeah. Mike, what about you?
If QB or tight end fall to 12 and they're the best player, I'm still not taking them.
Right.
So need always plays a part. But as best as possible, you'd like to take best player with mixed in need. Another thing is, say we got Genty at 12 and the best player in the next round is Amorion Hampton or Johnson, another running back. Well, you're not going to, take him because you got your guy, so need is always part of it. But BPA as best as possible, considering your needs.
All right, here we are with Mike's view from the sidelines. What did you learn about this class from the Senior Bowl?
It's hard to say. This class it feels like, minus like maybe running back, is really deep, but I don't feel like there's I don't know. It's going to be hard to find big contributors in day 3 with this class. Maybe depth guys, but I don't know how many Deron Blands are gonna come out of that. You're gonna have to. It's gonna be very limited. And the Senior Bowl said basically that, even the standouts, you still were like, yeah, he's a standout. Like, he moved up. He's clearly going to be a first round guy instead of a day 2 guy. But you don't go into it going, oh wow, like, oh wow, this dude's a dude. Or there wasn't quarterbacks that like really like what's the dude's name? Jackson where'd that kid play? The quarterback from the Senior Bowl. He played
with Dart?
Yeah, Jackson Dart. Sorry. Thank you, Brenden. Jackson Dart. Like, he came out of the Senior Bowl like, oh, nice, Jackson Dart. But I mean, you're looking at him like, hey, man, drafting him inside the top 50, you're hoping for another Bo Nix situation. You know what I mean? Where he just goes to the right spot. So I don't know, outside of the top 100, I don't know how much help you're going to get. And again, for Dallas, who relies so much on the draft, that worries me team building wise.
How much, if at all, does the Senior Bowl influence your player evaluations?
It helps because like we're going to talk about risers and fallers here in a second. And Gray Zabel from North Dakota State, I'll tell you guys now, is one of the risers. You got to see him play against these guys. That North Dakota State doesn't have the competition. They're the best at like every position when they play the other teams in the conference they play. So what happens when he goes against dudes from the Senior Bowl, and he played his ass off. So now you go, okay, I see on tape he's a badass, and now I see him at the Senior Bowl lining up against dudes, and he's doing good. Stop it, the Sports 78. You stop it. Patrick Creighton, if you took Patrick Creighton at his best, he would be our wide receiver 2 right now. That's how scary bad our wide receiver core.
Oh my god, dude!
Patrick Creighton at his not now when he's 70, but in his prime would be wide receiver 2 right now. He's better than Tolbert because he's a good blocker. Tolbert's atrocious. But so it does change things. It does raise things. That's why there's risers and fallers from Senior Bowl. But just trust your tape that you saw too. It's more taking what you saw and then putting, cementing those thoughts than it is creating new thoughts about players.
All right, and kind of something that is going to be talked about a lot this offseason. What type of wide receiver would be the best complement to CeeDee Lamb in this offense? Bonus points if you give us a name or two.
So the big X wide receiver, a Mingo type. That's why they traded for Mingo. I hate to bring him up, but a better version of that, a big dude. Tet McMillan, obviously falling would be ideal. It's not going to happen. It'd be like CeeDee Lamb all over again. It'd be absolutely shocking. Other guys would be Matthew Golden. He's 6 foot, 195, can play outside and win. He's from Texas. Tet McMillan from Arizona, in case people are wondering. I'll also give you Jaden Higgins from Iowa State is another. He's 6'4", somewhere around 200, big dude. Those guys, because then Lamb could be your move guy. You could also go with a guy like Ibuka, who's mainly a slot guy, but really great blocker. And it would help because Lamb could still play the Z and go outside and inside. And Ibuka could he's really good at winning inside. He can block really well. He would help the team overall, which of course helps Lamb in the end. But an X wide receiver is what you really need on this team.
Gotcha. All right, we already did Brendan's bashing, so here we are with one word. The possibility of the Mavericks losing Luka Doncic and the Eagles winning the Super Bowl in the same week is blank, Brenden.
One word, it's like I want to say like my brain goes like vomit inducing, so I guess I'll just say like sickening, because like I already don't want to watch the Super Bowl. I'm gonna keep looking at the score because of course, but like there's so many other things that would bring me joy. I love football. I don't love football that much to watch another Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl. It's a lose-lose situation. I'm still rooting for the Chiefs because F Philly, they don't deserve happiness. But, like, it's sickening. Why would you do this to me? Where's baseball?
Yeah. Catchers and pitchers reporting in about a week. Mike, the Mavericks losing Luka and the Eagles winning the Super Bowl in the same week is blank.
Well, for me, it would be compromising, because if I have to watch Eagles win the Super Bowl, I had better get fucking Luka Doncic on my team because I'm a Laker fan, so I got him. So for me, it'd be compromising because it's like, oh, I had to watch the Eagles win the fucking Super Bowl. Well, at least I got Luka to root for the next 10 years. So a little bit different word than for you guys, obviously.
Yeah, my word was actually sickening as well. So me and Brenden are, having the same thought there. Here we are with prospect preview. Prospect review. Last week, Mike, I asked you to look at edge from Ole Miss, Prince Emmanuel. I'm pretty sure I butchered that, but
Umanamielen.
Okay.
It's Princely Umanamielen. He's from he's an edge from Ole Miss, senior, 6'4", 255. I have my notes on him right here. A lot of traits. This is why he's going to go in the top 50. He's really tall, powerful, long arms. Like, I shouldn't say powerful. The frame to become powerful.
Mm-hmm.
When his get off is good, he can accelerate around the edge well enough. He has a pass rush plan already because he's a senior. He's had years to develop it. Like, when his get off is good, he can go around you. So a tackle has to go, okay, if this guy gets off quick, I'm in trouble. Well, he has a great spin move, which, by the way, he didn't need to use it every move at the Senior Bowl. Like, it seemed like that's all he was trying to do was show that he had a spin move at the Senior Bowl. I didn't understand that. But the problem is that he's probably got a couple of years of development needed with good coaching development. He's got to put peanut butter on, as Vach Lombardi would say, to get bigger. Because, like, he can set an edge, but he doesn't break off and make tackles often. He hasn't learned that, and he doesn't have the power to do that. So he can hold an edge and make sure the runner has to go back inside, but he's not making the play himself. He has a bad get off. It's very inconsistent. Like, a lot of times, if he's close to the snap, he's hard to block, but a lot of times he's the last guy off the ball. I'm not going to say he's Mozzie, but he's, he has snaps like that occasionally, like Mozzie did in his first year. He has had 40 games against SEC competition, which is really good. You learn to play football versus better players. So the thing about Princely is you'd be using, say he fell to us and we got him at 44. You'd be using the 44th pick on a player who could be Daniil Hunter. That's his player comp for most people, including me. But he also could be Taco Charlton. Like, yeah, we got the guy with the frame and size. But if he doesn't develop, now he's got a better get off and a get around than Taco ever did, than Taco ever thought of. But it's the same type of, we're going to take the bigger frame guy, the bigger guy that can set an edge and play eventually with more power and more length than just the twitchy get off bendy guy. He's not that. He's not bending around the edge, So he would be a risk because he's a senior, and what if this is his ceiling? You know what I mean? But yeah. I think if you could put 8 pounds of muscle and lean him out and get him stronger over a couple of years, he's a guy that could turn into a DeMarcus Lawrence. So, it would be, it's not somebody I want to risk on, but it's somebody Eberflus might.
Yeah, real quick before we talk about the prospect preview, do you think that the coaching staff used Taco Charlton correctly?
Yeah, I mean, the type of player he was fit, the type of, like, what Rob Marinelli's thought process is about, we need a guy that can rush the passer and be able to defend the edge side, but he just wasn't a good pass rusher. So it you don't work if you bring no pass rush to the table. It's not going to work no matter how good you become as a run defender. And he wasn't even that great at that. He really didn't develop in either thing. But the Cowboys used him right. Like, it's the same type of player that ideally Eberflus would want. Bigger body pass rushers. guy that with my front four, if he gets one-on-one, he's going to shed a block and take the guy down. That's what he needs. Or you double team him and it opens up our linebackers to make plays. That, he doesn't really want a Micah style player. It just so happens Micah's elite, so it doesn't matter. But for the most part, he would pass on the smaller pass rusher, and he'd go more for the Daniil Hunter types.
All right, my prospect preview for next week. Wide receiver Stanford, Elik Ao Manor.
Ao Manor, yeah. Elik Ao Manor.
Have you already studied him, I imagine?
Yeah. Wide receivers and DTs are the first things I did, so I'll be ready.
I thought so, but, I figured you'd have some good insight on him. Curious to hear your thoughts on him.
An hour and 15 minutes. You don't get any thoughts today. Next week.
Fair. That's fair. For those interested, you have to come back next week. It's a good show tonight, guys. No top five. As I said, I didn't want us to go to 2 hours, and I feel like that's what it put us at 2 hours. So, good discussion. I'm glad I got to get some of the not the Cowboys, but the Mavericks hate off of my chest, out of my heart, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, we got 45 minutes of that. This show would have probably only been like 45 minutes. Well, we would have had a top five. So, yeah, it would have been about an hour.
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed the discussion as always, boys. Before we get you out of here, Mike, where can we find you on Twitter?
At CD Piglet, guys. Nice and easy.
Brenden, where can we find you?
At Brenden_Smith 26.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us, and we will see you guys next week.
Good therapy session for you.